In this video, we're going to learn how to use typography styles in Figma and sync them up in a design system. Now, this is a second video, and the previous one was on setting up these colors within the design system. So feel free to watch the previous video, but if you want to follow along and simply leverage this video alone as a standalone solution, that works as well. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create another frame, and just for conveniency, I'm going to copy the colors frame in order to basically have the same style on the top. So we're going to change this and call it typography. And if you want, you can use Control, Command, and Spacebar in order to add a emoji. And we can search, for example, for letter, and we can pretty much use any emoji that you prefer for this. Just a nice optional touch. And then we're going to write here typography. So the very first thing to keep in mind whenever we are dealing with the typography in the design system is we need to be aware if we're going to use the typography on a website, on a web app, or on both. Now, ideally, the website typography is going to be slightly different from the web app in the sense that the general typography font family are likely going to be the same, but you're probably going to see some differences in the font sizes. So you can create two different typography styles sheets for one and the other, or at least that's how I approach it usually with client. But let's simplify things for now, and we're simply going to focus on the one for the website. So for the website, we're going to focus on the headings, which are essentially going to be H1 all the way to H6. And if you're already familiar with the basics of website development, you're gonna know that those are HTML tags that you can use in order to dictate the different headings for the website. So we're going to go ahead and write heading 1, and I'm simply going to make this one significantly bigger. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check that we're using round numbers, and we can start with, for example, 70, and I can use also a typography web size calculator in order to be sure that I'm using a golden ratio. This is an extra touch which is going to enable you, for example, let's say that I'm going to use enter, or actually they don't have it right here. So let's say that we're using Arial just for the sake of this demonstration. And the font size, as you can see here, we're going to make it, I don't know if it starts from the biggest one. Yeah, that's correct. So you can see that you can create these different units using one of these calculators. For the time being, we're simply going to create them just by eye. So what we think would be a good ratio. But I wanted you to be aware that these calculators are indeed available, and you can create them with a more scientific approach if you wish. So let's write in heading 5, heading 6, and at this point what we're gonna do is we are going to sync the very first one to the typography styles within the design system. So I'm going to click on style, and I'm going to click on plus in order to create a style. And very similarly to what we saw with the color styles, we're going to have the opportunity to basically name this style right here. And you can also add a description, which is an optional element. So for example, this can be seen by other team members, and I can write H1s should be used for the main titles of a page and only used once on the top sections only. So this can be a nice way to inform other team members as to the rationale behind that specific text styles. Now we're going to click on create style, and as you can see, now we have the style. We can unlink it by clicking on this detach style, and that is going to be good for now. So we're going to do the same also for these other ones. I'm going to make them just a bit smaller, and as you might already understand, basically these different headings are used in order of hierarchy. So the heading 1 is going to be the one which is the most prominent. This is for subtopics within the H1 topic. So these are all essentially childs of the main ones. And even though you might not use them directly within a parent and child relationship, you can easily use them in order to create a visual hierarchy within the page. So for example, on a blog post, you might have the main heading 1 as the title, the heading 2 as the subtitles, and the heading 3s should be nested within the H2s as subtopics of the H2. So you kind of see where I'm going. If you want to learn more about this in more detail, I highly recommend you to search on YouTube, for example, for heading SEO, and you're going to see a lot of nuanced videos that are going to really get into this topic in much more detail. Now, this video is all about the design system, so we're going to keep going with this, and we're going to do something slightly different for the H2, which is going to be titles, and we're going to write H2. So this is another way that we can approach the H2s, and as you can see, we have now this title over here, and I'm going to change also the H1 so that you can see how we can create this hierarchy, which is much more organized and also clean as we go through it. Let's do the same also for the H3, and I'm going to write, oops, for some reason I deselected it, and you can simply go over here, H3, then we're going to click on this one is going to be the H4, this one here the H5, and now we are going to have the H6. Perfect. So we have the base elements for the textiles of the headings. We still need to work on the next ones, which are going to be very common elements, the paragraphs. So we're going to identify them as body, and I like to have a few different subset of sizes and options when it comes to the body paragraphs. So I'm going to write in large, and this one I need to unlink it since I copied it. This one is probably going to be around 16 pixels, and we don't necessarily need to have them bold. We can simply keep them as medium, and we can even have a different version. So we could have, for example, body regular, large, and then we could have another one which is going to be body bold, large. This is going to be optional. Some designers like to have the bold version of the body in the design system. Other ones are fine with just the regular, and then they can simply detach the style and create a body version. Or I think that you can even just adjust those, or actually I'll take that one back since I'm getting mistaken with Sketch, which was the previous design tool of choice by us designers prior to when Figma came out. So we're going to simply say body regular large, then we're going to have body regular medium, and we're going to write these right here, and we're going to sync up the styles in just a moment. So this one is going to be 14 pixels, and then we're going to create another one which is going to be small, and this one, oops, for some reason it didn't sync up. Okay, this one is going to be even smaller. So we're going to have a few different options when we are dealing with these systems. So let's go and let's create a new textile out of the body regular large. So how are we going to do this? The very first element that we want to have is the main title, which is going to be body, and after that we're going to use the slash, and we can identify the size, so large, and then we can use the slash one more time and identify that it's regular. So we're going to create the style, and we're going to essentially see that we have this option. Now we're going to see the slash right here simply because there is only one item which is large. But if we go ahead and use body large and then bold, we create the style, you're going to see that it still keeps it there. So probably one thing that we could do is to have a dot instead of the slash, if you prefer. So let's just keep it as it is for now, and we're going to basically do the same also for these other elements. So it's going to be body regular, or actually medium. This one is going to be the regular, and let's add these ones as well, medium, bold. Since we're using first the body text and then medium, which is the size, and then bold, we could actually invert them also here, just to make things easier. I didn't thought about that ahead of time, simply because I wanted to immediately see which one is bold, which one is regular. But another way that you can do it in order to keep the design system clean is you could have a title like this, and going to make it smaller. This one is not going to be synced within the design system, so we can easily just freestyle with this if you wish. And I can make these, for example, 50%. You can see how we just avoided the need to add bold or regular in each and every one of these text items. So very easy, very simple, and as you can see, there's all sorts of different ways that you can create a design system and mix and sync up these. So there isn't really like a way which is set in stone. It all comes down to what is your personal preference. I'm going to continue and create the textile for the small, and I'm going to go ahead and add also the small bold version. All right, so we are doing well. You can see that we have the body large, and then body medium. These are regulated into regular and bold. And we have also all the titles, which we could rename to headings as well, but title is just an easier way to basically identify that these are going to be titles and subtitles. So this is the base for any typography design system, really. Now, on top of that, there's going to be more typography items which you might want to cover, such as maybe an emphasis element or a disclaimer text. So let's add a few more of these and then we can reorganize these how we prefer. As you can see, there is a lot of white space, so you can reorganize these in either two columns or making this frame smaller. This is all up to you and your specific preference. So feel free to take some extra time and basically reorganize the design system as you prefer. We're creating some examples here on the fly, so there's definitely room for improvement and reinterpretation. So we're going to write here disclaimer and special text, and we're going to essentially add over here, this is a disclaimer text, and I'm thinking about for example the texts which are at the very end of a website landing page, and you know, the ones around those lines, you can sync up the colors of your design system within the text styles. So you can see that now we added a slate color. Now the great thing about it is that if you were to change the slate color, for example over here, I'm going to change the color to say red, you can see how, since we linked them together, now the text which was linked with that slate color is going to be red. So this is the power of the design system. You can have infinite amount of screens which are connected with the same color, typography, and all sorts of different components. And once you make the changes from the general control panel, everything is going to update in a moment. So you can see the level of and the degree of consistency and speed that this can bring to the workflow. So all of this work is definitely useful in that sense. I'm going to use Command Z in order to go back and basically use the original slate color. So that's what we want. And we're going to create a new text style, which is going to be disclaimer text. And we're going to use this as special. So special slash, and then we're going to use disclaimer text, or actually you can simply remove the text and just call it disclaimer. And as you can see, we now have this title, which is special, and then below that it's going to be disclaimer. So you can do these also for all sorts of other specific use cases which you might need in your design system. So let's write a quote. So this is a quote text. I'm going to increase this. I'm going to make this light italic and 0% letter spacing, and we can easily just change this one right here to maybe like the darkest indigo. Let's say that we're using it in the blog and we're going to use the darkest indigo because this works well all together. We can go ahead and actually, before we do that, let's just say special text without the disclaimer. We can go over here, click on the plus, and we're going to write special and then quote. And for some reason couldn't spell special. And I'm going to click over here again. So under the special, we have disclaimer and quote. So you get the gist of it by now. There's so much that you can do within the design system ecosystem for the typography. And this is going to enable you to essentially have everything under one roof and achieve a level of consistency which is going to enable you to bring your projects to the next level. Now, also one more note. Usually when I create a design system, I like to have everything in one single page at the start. So when I'm creating it, I just want to have a bird's eye perspective on the color system, the typography, the UI components, and all of the basics really to create the design system. But once I'm at a good point, I like to divide it up into different pages. So we're going to have a page for the colors, another page for the typography. But that is something that we can easily do afterwards, since there's no real implications in making this division. So we're going to continue with the next videos. So stay tuned to learn more about design systems.